What is your near-death experience that changed how you see the world? I've had so many near-death experiences that I've quit counting. The first one that had a real impact was when I was a Marine. I had rather stupidly thought that it would be okay for me to smoke a cigarette while on guard duty in a combat zone at night. Out of the corner of my right eye I saw the muzzle flash about 300 yards away. A split second later I felt the hypervelocity pop of a bullet passing in front of my face. As I spit the cigarette out I heard the report of the rifle. That was the last cigarette I ever smoked. I figured that the reason I'm still alive was that the shooter thought that my head was on the other side of that cherry. It kind of upset me, it made me mad, but by the time I had the sense to shoulder a rifle I couldn't pinpoint exactly where that muzzle flash had been. Up until that time the world had been a joke, but in that instant I realized that we play this game for keeps. The second time was when Shannon got me blown up. I saw something that looked funny, I said don't touch that. He whispered touch that? And reached. The blast wave hit me like a giant paddle that went through my body like a ghost. I could feel my brain bouncing in my head and I remember feeling my organs moving. As my senses cleared, I don't know how long, I realized that Shannon was face down and wasn't moving. I grabbed his shoulder and pulled and he mumbled I'm dead. I said it's time to go, we gotta go. He mumbled I'm dead. I saw the shrapnel split my head. I rolled him over and there was a red line, perfectly straight from the center of his chin to the top of his forehead, like the welts that used to appear on your bottom when your mother spanked you with a switch. I informed him that he was not in fact dead but that we soon would be if we didn't go right now. About that time his brain came back online and he suddenly decided that we needed to be somewhere else. How that changed the way I see the world is that when I see something that looks funny I know to back off now. Back off and reevaluate the situation. There is no penalty to be paid for erring on the side of caution, but the penalty for being bullheaded, stupid and ignorant is pain and potentially death. Also learned never to trust Shannon not to do something stupid. I love him like a brother to this day but you can bet that I don't let him get close to anything that goes boom. I never did figure out what made that welt. After that I left the Marine Corps and the near-death experiences all kind of blurred together and became mundane over the years. I was later to learn that I was suffering from PTSD, a kind of invincibility syndrome. I didn't feel fear so there was no reason to avoid anything. It became the norm and I just checked a mental box on each experience. Beat up and left for dead, check. Stabbed, check. Hit in the head with an iron pipe, check. Fell 40 feet, check. The list went on and it all became monotonous and I needed a change so I decided to go international again. This time as an industrial educator. As it turns out there are few things a militant in Africa hates more than an educator. From his point of view I give people hope for a better life. There's no reason to strap a bomb to your chest in a rush to get to paradise if some guy is teaching you how to make a pretty comfortable living in this one. At one time I had a $75,000 bounty on my head dead, and those made for some interesting times. What I learned from that? Be worth more alive to the local powers that be than you are dead. That one trick will save you a lot of trouble. Another thing I learned, keep a pocket full of candy on you at all times. As soon as you hit a village start handing out candy to children. Don't give it away all at once, ration it. You need 4 or 5 children in constant orbit around your body at any given time. Try to keep the kids that are at least shoulder high around you. The reason for this is that very few militants will shoot through a kid to unalive you. If there is a militant that will shoot through a kid to unalive you, you can bet that the locals will know about it and they'll call the children in. If the children quit orbiting you it's time to leave the area. Towards the end of my time in Africa I caught a lung disease that was unaliving me. By the time I got to a doctor I was too sick to fly to France or New Zealand so they sent me to my bungalow to die and quarantine the bungalow. A nurse would come feed me once a day and change my sheets. By that time I was blowing blood and my sheets were a mess and I was too sick to move. It was then that something strange happened. You hear about people seeing a bright light or something similar and it is attributed to oxygen starvation in the closing stages of death, but that is not what happened. I woke inside a white void and it seemed that I could think with greater accuracy than I had ever thought before. My thoughts were like a laser, piercing, probing, recalling and attempting to understand what was happening to me. Around me in this void were representations of me doing many things. There was also a dark place that I didn't like to look because in that dark place were all the things that I had done. It seems that to know all the things that you have done is not enough to understand yourself. To understand yourself you have to know all the things that you could have done but did not do. There was more in there but I don't feel comfortable even thinking about it. The thoughts and memories slip away like your eyes avoid a bright light no matter how determined you are to look into it. I think that for a moment my ego was stripped completely away and for an instant I saw myself for what I truly was and I did not like what I saw. All the times I had stepped sideways and let death pass by, all the times I had laughed at death, all the times I had cheated death and congratulated myself on my ingenuity and seeming indestructibility meant less than nothing in the face of that bright light. I am not the man I was before this happened. I have never felt complete since that moment and though I try to laugh and joke and be the man I was I will never be that man again because that man died that day and I am what was made from him. Do not go looking for that bright light, you will not like what you find in it. My liquid kid swallowing ex came back to steal my kid. Since the post, she had been insisting on a meeting, she wanted to talk. I decided to have one last talk with her and set my boundaries. We met in a public place. The talk was long and hard, I wanted her to be honest, and I told her the moment I caught a lie, I was leaving. I asked if she was really sorry or are we her last option. Did she really love us, or were we just a consolation prize? Did she come back for love, or because she was unable to find another man anymore? She was unable to answer any of that. She only said things like, "It's not like that. You need to understand me, and I'm not like this anymore." She kept insisting on giving her another chance, that we could love each other again, that we could be together. She never even mentioned our daughter at any moment, only after I pointed it, did she start to mention her. When I tried to settle that we were over, she grabbed my hand and, as some of you told me she would do, she tried to seduce me, pulling down her blouse, showing me her cleavage, and saying we could find a room, so I can do whatever I wanted with her, that she wouldn't say no to anything, to compensate me. I didn't recognize that woman. She wasn't the amazing girl I met. She wasn't the mother of my daughter. I didn't know who that woman was, but she wasn't my Lucy. I told her to let me go, that we were over. Neither I nor my daughter wanted anything with her, so please, leave us alone, we were living a good life without her. She then went mad, saying I couldn't leave her, that it wasn't my choice, that she didn't have anything else. That I can't take away her daughter. I still don't know why, but that last sentence triggered me. The next are not my exact words, but are close to what I said at that moment. Your daughter? Your daughter? You are not her mother. You only gave birth to her, but you are not her mother. Tell me, where you were when she was sick. Where you were. When she had a fever. When she was scared on the night. When her first teeth fell. When she cried on the nights because she missed her mom. Where you were on her first day of school. When she had her first period. When she had her first boyfriend. When her heart broke for the second time. Because the first one who broke her heart was her mother. Which schlong were you riding when she needed a mom? You have no right to claim you are her mother because you never acted like that. She tried to reply, but I saw how she was unable to find the words. I left her. Back at home, she sends me some texts, asking for another meeting, for another chance, that she loves me and she can change, but I'm done. She doesn't love me or our daughter at all, she only loves herself. Having her in my life would be bad, and toxic, and I don't need that. I don't need her. My daughter and I are going back to therapy soon. I need to work on myself, be stronger, and get over those feelings for her, because they're not real, just memories of what I thought she was. Get ready with me to go celebrate a failed wedding where the groom dodged the biggest bullet of his life. Claire and Mark were supposed to get married, but poop hit the fan when Claire messaged Sally the meanest thing you could say to a person. Sally is a girl we all adore. If anyone ever wronged her, we would all run to her rescue, no questions asked. This time was no different. Prior to the conversation with Sally and Claire, Sally had confessed to her closest friends that she had a miscarriage. We were all devastated as everyone was excited to see her bundle of joy, but we were told to keep things under wrap because it had just happened and she didn't want everyone and their mom to know. Problem was, everyone knew that Sally was pregnant since she had posted it everywhere online. So when Claire's wedding was approaching fast, she took the liberty of texting Sally that it would be best if she didn't come to the wedding at all. She went on to explain that she thought Sally would be over the death of her child by now. Her final straw was Sally full-on sobbing when she saw a mother playing in the park with her young daughter while she was out shopping with Claire. And Claire just digs herself a deeper hole. She said, "People don't know yet because apparently you aren't ready to tell people. I think if you don't tell people you shouldn't come. Everyone at the wedding will be asking why you aren't pregnant and I don't want my guests distracted from making me feel special. Like maybe you could announce it on Facebook now so people know." Sally just loses it. She rips her a new one, telling her that if this is how she feels, she will not attend the wedding, says their friendship is over, and calls her giant trash pile of human. Claire gets insulted and tries playing the victim, saying Sally is twisting her words. Yeah, right. Claire just kept repeating that her wedding should only be about her, so she doesn't want people asking Sally about her pregnancy. Is that so? Bad? Yes. Sally takes it upon herself to message Mark saying that his lovely wife just uninvited her from the wedding. Mark asks her to explain why that is, so Sally sends a screenshot of the entire conversation. Mark read the message and never got back to Sally. A couple of hours later, Claire messages Sally again. She said, "Why the hell did you send Mark our conversation? He's sympathizing with you now. I just want my wedding to be all about me. It's my special day." Sally's had enough, so she blocks her. Eventually, Mark got back to Sally and apologized for Claire's behavior and told her he called off the wedding because Claire was an awful human being. Mark said he knew how hard her miscarriage was for her and Claire was being incredibly selfish by asking her to go public with such sensitive information. Mark even made a public announcement that the wedding was off, which made Claire angrier by the minute. Mark then made a group chat with all the guests on his side and said that he didn't want all the wedding planning to go to waste, so he still wanted to celebrate with everybody. Everyone already paid for their clothing and bought gifts, so why not? Who can turn down a party anyway? Now, Sally and Mark weren't public with the real reason Mark had called off the wedding, but they didn't need to be. All Mark said was that Claire was being really mean to Sally and everyone was quick to take her side. So, Claire lost her fiancé and all her friends in less than 2 days. As far as I know, nobody told Claire the new plan, so we have to hope she doesn't crash her own wedding.